This podcast is sponsored by FortuneFavours.ie. FortuneFavours.ie is a home workout equipment store and your one-stop shop for all home gym equipment. They are well known for their adjustable dumbbells, which combine 15 different weights in one dumbbell. They have both 24 kg and 40 kg adjustable dumbbells. Check the link in the bio of this episode for more information. So welcome back to the podcast. I'm here with Ryan Devlin from the Saffron Voice Podcast just to discuss this weekend's football action in the All-Ireland qualifiers with some very interesting ties. The doubleheader in Croke Park, obviously, with Clare, Roscommon and Mayo, Kildare facing off. And then the ties in Parky Heave and Clonus on Sunday as well. Some very good matches to look forward to. I suppose, first of all, Ryan, how have you been keeping over the last few days? Antrim are with the championship, even the Tajian Cup. Unfortunate for me to say that, but Antrim unfortunately have left the championship over the last few weeks, but still there's a lot of good action to look forward to in the next few weeks in the All-Ireland and the Tajian Cup looking into the next few weeks.
100%, Matthew, and thanks for having me on. Just been mainly the club games since the county went disappointingly out the Leitrim. I think, me and Luke kind of called it up here. It hasn't been good for a while, and I suppose ended did depart after the Leitrim game. It's a bit of a flat ending to a promising start to the year.
Yeah, in fairness, in Division 3, you were absolutely outstanding. And I seen Ed actually on the Sunday game last week. He gave very good analysis of fairness to Wicker on Whelan, and he's a very good coup for the Sunday game. Obviously, not so pleasant for you to see him sitting in that pundit's chair, but at the same time, it was a good year for Antrim. How would you reflect on it? A good campaign in Division 3, but the championship kind of petered out. Cavan was a poor performance, and then you lose to Leitrim after a poor first half showing. How would you rate the season overall for Antrim?
Yeah, like you said, it started off well, and then I know you said we had a good league campaign, but maybe I don't think we had a good end of the league. I think we lost the last 3 games, and we could sort of smell something was up. And then the Cavan game, I wasn't confident going in that, and we got a bit of a pasting at home. A lot of people were actually tipping on them for that game, and then there was boys that walked away, and just turned really sour at the end there. I don't know what happened. I know boys were turning their back in the county, and I'd seen the bench we had against Leitrim. It was filled with under 20 players,
The question is, though, where do Antrim go after this? Because Aidan McGinley was an excellent appointment, and he proved to be one during the league campaigns, getting you up from Division 4 and getting competitive in Division 3. Where do you go next? It's a lot of people are debating who should go to Meath next. There is a debate as well who should go to Antrim next, because it's a big job on someone's hands to get into that job.
Yeah, 100%. I think there's going to be a lot of counties looking for managers, possibly Monaghan as well, because I think that might be Banty's last game last week. But I've seen there's maybe a few things about Dominic Corrigan, which I think would be an excellent appointment. He took, I can't remember what the club team was, but they beat Mohill last year in the Leitrim. He's got some pedigree. He took Fermanagh to the All-Ireland semi-final in 2004. Took Clontarf to the Monaghan Championship 2014, Killyclare 2016. And of course, he took St Michael's Enniskillen to the Hogan Cup. That name's been bandied about, and to be honest, I'd love that appointment. I know, look, we're talking a lot about Antrim, and I think he would actually like Oisin McConville. But I said to him, it has to be attainable. I know Oisin's got his fingers in a lot of pies at the minute. He's doing Puntray. I think he's taking Enniskillen Grattan's. And I also think he might be taking that university in Louth as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think it'll depend. The appointment will say a lot about what the county board actually want them to do over the next couple of years, whether they go for the club manager or whether they, suppose, dip into the wallet and maybe get a Malik O'Rourke or someone like that there.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens with Antrim GA over the next few weeks. It should be very interesting who they appoint after the great Aidan McGinley departed. I suppose we'll look forward to the All-Ireland qualifiers next. Some very good games at the weekend, all live on TV. Starting off the Croke Park doubleheader, Clare, Roscommon and Mayo and Kildare. But before we get into the games, like GA Fan TV was talking about, I was on to GA Fan TV about it on Monday as well, his podcast. Like, this decision to push the doubleheader in Croke Park instead of like putting Clare, Roscommon in Salt Hill or something, Mayo, Kildare and Thurles. Like, what do you think of the decision, especially when diesel prices are going up, with hotel prices are going up? And to add to that, the Mayo Kildare game is on at 6 o'clock. So you have to feel for Mayo fans travelling up and down to this game. Before we get into the action of the game, where it's going to be won and lost, what do you think of the general decision for the GA to put these games in Croke Park?
Yeah, I think it's all based on money at the end of the day, isn't it? And I was thinking, I seen a tweet there. Somebody said about the Clare Roscommon game, there might be 5,000 or 6,000 and an 82,500 seater stadium. Like, it's going to be a graveyard. Like, and you were saying there, Matthew, Clare and Roscommon, if you brought that to a tight wee pitch, somewhere like not a Dr. Hyde Park, because obviously that's on Roscommon, but the like of a Salt Hill or somewhere like that there, where it's going to be more of an atmosphere, like that could turn out to be a potentially good game. But you see, taking it to the graveyard, that's Croke Park. Yes, Croke Park, whenever it's full, is bouncing, like, but I don't know. And then you feel for Mayo, like, what time would their supporters be home at? Like, if they were going up in cars and trains, and well, if you're getting a train up, you're probably staying up there, and you, like you said, the price of hotels. Seen Carol Kane from the Irish News, £400-500 for an overnight stay. Like, ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, yeah. It should be talked about more, in my opinion. Like, a lot of people are saying in suit Mayo style, playing against Kildare. Kildare were a bit awful in that Leinster final defensively, and Mayo will open them up. But you have to think of the fans as well. Like, the amount of money that the Mayo fans will spend, I think Mayo will get numbers into the game because Mayo fans are absolutely outstanding when following their county. But at the same time, you have to feel sorry for them. You know, getting charged of diesel, hotel prices, and even, like I mentioned this at GA Fan TV as well, the Kerry hurling team couldn't even get accommodation. So what makes you think that in a week in advance, Clare, Roscommon and Mayo can get suitable accommodation? You know, it's a joke in many ways, in my opinion anyway, and you think so yourself as well.
Yeah, 100%. I don't know the geography of, say, Castlebar to Croke Park, but I would say it's the game. The time you get shared and all the players and all that there, like, I can't see them coming home. Like, you'd be out at Croke Park for 8:30, 9 o'clock, like, and then what, you want to get on a coach for 3.5 hours? Like, I don't think so.
Yeah, there's a bit of a dilemma, right? Do you sleep on the bus going home to Castlebar or Westport or wherever, or do you just hand in the money to these hotels and all that? Like, it's a really tough one for Mayo fans, definitely. And for Clare, Roscommon, of course. But I suppose we'll get into the football because that's all that matters, really. Clare against Roscommon, live on Sky Sports Arena at 3:45. Like, this, like, a lot of people are saying Roscommon will win this game easily because Clare, you know, they're staying in Division 2, but Clare stayed in Division 2 quite a while now, and that's a credit to Colin Collins and these players. And in my opinion, I don't know about you, Ryan, but I think Clare will really put it up to Roscommon in this game. I know Roscommon have performed pretty well in Division 2 and in the Championship to an extent so far, but Clare will really test how good Roscommon can be.
100%. Like you said, Matthew, like, we're both teams not in the same division this year. You know what I mean? Like, I know Roscommon are probably better, but I think Clare definitely can match them physically. I think Colin Collins definitely runs a tight ship there. And I know Croke Park is a big, wide open pitch, like, and it might suit Roscommon a bit more, but I think Clare would definitely have the fitness to keep up with them on that pitch. But how did the Roscommon Clare game go in the league? I'm trying to look it up here. How did that actually?
It was 9 points apiece, actually, in Dr. Hyde Park. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I mean, like, if you want an outside bet, like, and Clare always punch above their weight. And like Roscommon were poor now against Galway. They're very poor and Salt Hill. So you don't really know what you're going to get with Roscommon from game to game as well.
That's the thing with Roscommon. I thought Roscommon in the league and before the Galway game turned the corner. But if you were to sort of look at the stats of that game, Roscommon actually had more shots than Galway. They lost by 3 points. So looking at it's statistically, Roscommon didn't do that badly. But if you're trying to watch, a game of football from minute 1 to minute 70, I don't think Roscommon really did well enough to win that Connacht final against Galway. So it's a tough one there. But you look at Clare so far. Owen Cleary scored 10 points. Like, he's been absolutely outstanding. Aaron Griffin, 4 points. David Tuberty, 1-2. David Tuberty, again, like, I think he's mid-30s and he's still going. Like, fair play to him. And again, Clare haven't played in Croke Park since 2016. That's annihilation off Kerry in the All-Ireland quarterfinal. So we talk about Croke Park being a money spinner for the GA, and it might not be good for Roscommon fans because they get there usually nowadays. But for Clare fans, Clare football fans specifically, this will be a momentous occasion for them too.
Do you think they'll travel up on Saturday, Clare supporters?
It's a tough one because, like, the game in Thurles cost a lot, like traveling up and back in itself. I do think Clare football fans will follow their team, though. I think they're very passionate supporters. I've been to Parky Queeve when Clare were playing us, Cusack Park, Parky Rin. They followed the Clare team everywhere, really. Like, the Clare football fans are, they're passionate folk, all right. And as I said, this doesn't happen too often for the Clare footballers. Like, they've only been to Croke Park, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, no, in the comment section or DM me on Instagram or something like that. I think Clare have only played in Croke Park twice in the last few years. I think a Division 3 final against Kildare and a quarter-final in the All-Ireland against Kerry. So these players, Owen Cleary, David Tuberty, Aaron Griffin, Pierce Lillis, they don't get there that often. So maybe it's an opportunity to just seize it.
And 100%. And I don't know, I always back Colin Collins to pull out a result. I thought they were very, very unlucky to lose the penalties I actually think Limerick are a decent side. And it's interesting there, Matthew, just going through their team sheet against Limerick, there was no Keelan Sexton. Why was that?
I don't know, was he injured? I think he was. He came on.
Well, if they can get him back for Saturday, that's going to be a massive plus. And like you said, Owen Cleary chipping in with 5 or 6 points. Yeah, I think it could be a defensive enough game, but it might actually suit Clare.
We'll have to see. Like, I don't know, will it actually suit Clare? Like, they've had games against Meath. Well, Meath, according to some people, I wasn't watching the full game, I just watched the highlights. But according to some people, most people actually, Meath were quite defensive. So maybe that would stand to Clare. I'm not sure, but I don't think in Croke Park would Roscommon be that defensive. I don't know what you think about that yourself. You think it'll be a defensive game, a bit of a slog of a game, but I don't think Roscommon are that defensive of a team. They scored 2-16 against Galway. They conceded 2-19 themselves. So
that scoreline was very flattering, but Matthew, that was not a 3-point loss. Galway should have won by far more. Very, very poor in the Connacht final. The more you're talking about it, you know what? I actually fancy Clare. I don't know why.
Geez, you're putting your dick on the line there. I don't know. Like, I just think I do rate Clare, no doubt about it. But I just think this Roscommon team, if they are to prove they're developing as a great team, as a quarterfinal, semi-final team, for once over the last few years, they have to beat sides like Clare. No disrespect to Clare and Colin Collins, they've done an outstanding job. But Roscommon, you have to feel, if they're going to develop even further to be up there with an All-Ireland semi-final appearance or something like that, which we were mentioning at the start of the season could be an attainable objective for Roscommon, they honestly have to beat sides like Clare. No disrespect to Clare at all.
Yeah. Where was the league game at? Was it in?
It was in Dr. Hyde Park.
That's what I'm saying. They were at home. I mean, I'm going to try and convince you to tip Clare. I thought you would have tipped Clare.
I do rate Clare, like, but I just feel this Roscommon team, like Conor Cox, Edna Smith, Kieran Murtagh. If Dermot Murtagh starts now, I would actually feel that Roscommon have the edge there. He hasn't started over the last few games. He's come on as an impact sub. He scored 1-1 against Galway after coming on. And to be honest, over the last few years, I think he's a guy that should start for Roscommon. So I feel if he starts this game against Clare, I think it's a nailed-on win for Roscommon. And if Ultan Harney continues his form, he scored. I know the Roscommon team didn't perform particularly well in that game as a team against Galway, but Ultan Harney got 3 points from midfield. Look, if he hits form in Croke Park, and Conor Cox, Edna Smith, Kieran Murtagh, Dermot Murtagh, Conor Daly, who scored 1-2 so far for the defence. Look, I'm saying if these guys hit form, where are Clare going to stop these lads? Like Connor Cox, Aidan Smith, from centre forward, who's going to stop him?
Well, there's that too, but it's just lingering with me that Roscommon. I remember that time they got absolutely hammered by Mayo in Croke Park, and they've got some scoldings off Dublin. That they'd never really turn up in Croke Park, I don't think, as well. Maybe that could be a factor.
Jeez, you're not changing your mind here.
Well, who do you think's the better manager, Anthony Cunningham or Colin Collins? I think Colin Collins all day long.
I 100% agree with you. I think Colin Collins is a top manager, and I think he's actually one of the top managers in the country when you look at the players he has at his disposal and the way he's rose this Clare team up from the divisions and to be competitive in Munster again. But I just have to feel Roscommon have top class individuals, and I think they performed well as a team in Division 2. And I honestly think that Connacht final, they lost by 3 points. It was a bit of a blip for them. And they performed particularly badly, but they still lost by 3 points. So does that say they're not a particularly bad team that people think after that game?
Just looking at Roscommon's results, they haven't really had a standout win, really, have they? I know they beat Galway in the league, but I don't think Galway was twice. They beat Galway twice in the league, yeah. But were Galway not really hampered that day in the league?
They were, yeah, but at the same time, they beat Galway twice. They lost to them by 3 points in the Connacht final. So
I don't know. I'm sticking with Clare, and I'd like to see Clare do it as well.
To be honest, as a Munster man, I'd actually love to see Clare do it, but I just have that feeling Roscommon, they have to win this game. Like, it's in Croke Park. Like, I was seeing a stat, I think Darragh O'Connor said it on a live stream from GFN TV last night, that Roscommon haven't won a championship game in Croke Park since 1980. So I don't know where you're actually looking at that stat and thinking this could play on Roscommon's minds. Like, to not win in Croke Park for 40 years or so, like, that's a big gap as well, despite how good Roscommon have been in Division 2 and for some parts of the championship.
Yeah, like that has to be. That's massive. I actually didn't know that stat. And they have been pretty poor in Croke Park. But yeah, I think we'll see. You're sticking Roscommon there.
I have to stick with Roscommon. I was going to say Roscommon before we went on air. I'll have to stick with Roscommon. You'll be sticking with Clare. Like, I'll tell you what, if Clare win this game, I'll have to put it up as a post on Instagram or something. Like, you'll be some sort of prediction wizard, because that is some risky prediction there. I know Clare have done well.
Not really. Clare a top 10, top 12 team in Ireland.
Well, I don't know, like I'd probably agree with you, but some people would say they're probably 11th, just outside the top 10. I don't know, would you agree with that? I
think they're a little disrespected because they're little old Clare and they're a hurling county, but they do have top footballers, and I think they're one of the best managers in the country, so we'll see.
We'll have to see, all right. But you'll be back in Clare, I'll be back in Roscommon, but we'll see who wins that game. It should be a very interesting game, all right. Very tight, I think. It'll be tighter than people think. Yeah. I do think Clare will win this game, so we'll have to wait and see. And the next game is at 6:00 between Mayo and Kildare. We talked about the Mayo fans, but we'll talk a bit more about the Mayo players now. Like, I don't know, did you watch the game last week against Monaghan for Mayo? Like, I thought they were very poor. I looking at the highlights anyway. I watched the second half of the game after the Cork and Low game, of course. I watched it on the phone going home. And Monaghan could have easily won that game. When you look at it, they could have had 2 penalties for a foot block and a foul on Conor Leonard towards the end. Mayo very nearly messed it up towards the end. Like, I know Kildare performed pretty poorly in the Leinster final. Well, not pretty poorly. They were absolutely awful in the Leinster final. But this is the sort of game that Mayo could fall backwards on, to be honest with you, because like a Monaghan team that weren't particularly great at McCain Park nearly got away with the win that day.
Yeah, you couldn't imagine the stick Aidan O'Shea would have got if that had come to a penalty. And I watched the full game in a hotel room, and it was just a poor game in general, I thought, Matthew. That second half just felt like forever. I think there was, maybe I'm making this up, but maybe 15 minutes where both teams didn't score anything. It was It was watching paint dry, and I think Monaghan would be kicking themselves because they were far too defensive on the day. And you think, like, I don't know, I didn't really get the tactic of playing Conor McManus as a sweeper. I don't know what that was about from Bunty, and yeah, I think if they'd have went a bit more at them, because you see, whenever they were chasing them, they pushed up in the kickouts and they were turning them over and they were getting frees at the end, and Mayo were shitting themselves, like, so. Yeah, I think that was a missed opportunity for Monaghan there last Saturday night. But Mayo do what Mayo do. They don't play well, but they'll get through.
That's the thing with this Mayo team. Like, I actually noticed, Pat Spillane was being pretty critical of Mayo's attack during the week, and usually be saying, "Oh, Spillane, he's talking a load of tosh," and he usually does, to be fair. But at the same time, I actually looked in detail of their stats, their attacking stats. Their top scorer from play is Ryan O'Donoghue with 3 points, and he's not going to play this game. Apparently, he's injured. So, like, Killian O'Connor scored 1 point from play so far. Like, that is a real worry for Mayo. Like, other than Killian O'Connor freeze, they haven't really set the world alight in the championship so far. That would be a huge worry for James Horan and his team.
But is that not what we've been saying for years? But Mayo and their lack of forwards, but. Like, we thought that Ryan O'Donoghue was going to step up, but now I think he was injured last week, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's not starting the game anyway. The team has been announced he's not going to start, so I would assume he's injured.
Well, that's another spanner in the works. Like, and Mayo just, they have the grit to come through games, but they just lack, I don't know, like a Conor McManus or a Sam Mulroy to maybe score 8 or 9 points. I know Killian gets ones from frees, like, but see, once you get progress, like teams like Dublin and Kerry are just not going to give you frees as handy, like, so they're not.
That's the thing with Mayo. When you look at the flip side, I know Kildare were pretty awful defensively against Dublin, and it doesn't take a genius to realise that in the Leinster final. But when you look at their attacking stats, actually, they're not particularly bad in the championship. Jimmy Hyland scored 2-8 from play so far. Ben McCormick scored 12 points from play. Darragh Kieran scored 1-7 from play. So there is forwards there in Kildare that could trouble Mayo. And if the Mayo backs do diddly-daddly like they did against Monaghan last week towards the end of the game, like, this could be a game where Kildare pull off a scalp.
I think this will be a really good game. I think this will be a really good open game as well. I think... like me and Luke talk about, if we could get a season ticket to watch any county, it'd probably be Kildare, because they are so naive, like everywhere on the pitch, so naive. Like, I was looking forward to that Leinster final so much, and it was over after 15 minutes and they turned the TV off. Like, I don't know, like, it's Kildare, what is their ceiling like? Like, I thought maybe they could challenge this year for the Leinster title, but no. Flattered to deceive again. Like, they had a decent enough league campaign. I don't know. I think Mayo will beat them tomorrow, but just that Croke Park factor as well. Like, I can just see them being open again. What about yourself?
Yeah, I honestly think the same as you. Like, I looked at the first half of that game because I was actually scorekeeper at a Camogie, and thank God, to be honest with you, because the game was, as you said, was over after 15 minutes. But I was looking at that first half performance from Kildare, and I couldn't believe it. To be honest, the amount of space. Like, there was one incident, I think Conor O'Callaghan's goal, where 3 Kildare defenders went to one man in the corner, and then they left Conor O'Callaghan's centre to go straight through a goal back at the net. I mean, like, you're absolutely right in Kildare. They are, yes, they're exciting attack-wise. Jimmy Hyland, Ben McCormick, Darragh Kieran, Kevin Feely's an excellent midfielder and good at driving forward. But at the same time, defensively, like, they're so naive at the back. And I mean, Mayo fans, I would say in any other year, Mayo fans would actually be licking their lips looking at this Kildare full back line. But the fact that Kildare's forwards Mayo's forwards haven't fired in the championship so far, this makes this game in Croke Park more intriguing the more you analyse it.
Yeah, my massive worry for Kildare would be the like Lee Keegan, Paddy Durkin coming up and creating overlaps, because Dublin just killed them overloads and fist passes over the head and 1-2s, and like Kildare honestly defend like an under 10 team. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe watching the Leinster final, how bad that was. Like you said, I forgot about that incident where 3 or 4 men like went to the ball.
Yeah.
Like that's not even schoolboy stuff.
Yeah. And geez, this is coming from a Cork man now. You know.
This is coming from an Antrim man.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair though, Antrim are better defensively than Kildare. I will say that. But
yeah, they're better football.
Play better football, that's the way. But
better forward.
Better forwards? Maybe. maybe. Like Ord Eastwood better than Dark Kieran. What do you think?
Nah. That Kildare full forward line's mouthwatering. Like.
It needs to be very, yeah. And what I was mentioning about their forwards and stuff like that, and to even look at the scoring averages for the both teams going into the game, actually, Mayo have averaged a scoring record of 16 points in the 2 games against Galway and Monaghan, while conceding an average of about 15 points. So it's an average of about 1 point victory for them. And when you look at Kildare, it's way higher scoring. They've averaged 23.3 points a game, but they've conceded an average of 21.6. In I don't know, that was 3 games in Leinster. Like, you know,
it's almost like a hurling average, Matthew, isn't it?
It is, to be honest. Yeah, even looking at it, like even against Westmeath, I thought in the Leinster semi-final, maybe the writing was on the wall a bit. Like a lot of people went into the Leinster final, myself, thinking Kildare could honestly put up a challenge to Dublin. Maybe a lot of the analysts were critical of Kildare's style against Westmeath, and maybe there was a sign there that we needed to cop on that Kildare weren't up to that level yet. I don't know what you think about that. Did they perform that badly against Westmeath, or was the Dublin game just one of the worst you ever saw?
I think, obviously, they wouldn't come out and say this, but they'd almost disrespect Dublin a wee bit. Almost say, like, we can go toe-to-toe with Dublin here and sort of just play our own game and not track runners and all this here. I thought it was a wee bit naive. We beat them in the league. We've had a good enough league campaign. Dublin's on the decline. This, that, and the other. And I think it's some embarrassment that day. Like.
Yeah. And even the fact that Kildare beat them in Newbridge, I genuinely think that gave Kildare this sort of belief, this sort of, you know, they were willing to dream that they could beat Dublin eventually in the championship. But maybe that game in Newbridge, I don't know what you think about yourself, but I honestly think that was a bit of a false dawn for this Kildare team.
I rewatched the highlights of that, Matthew, and oh my goodness, they actually get cut open so much. And like, I think it was Aaron O'Neill doing nets for Kildare. He was, I don't know what he was doing that day. He must have been sniffing something before the game. He was everywhere. There was a sideline to Dublin, and I don't know why he committed his goal for. Yeah, it was. I think it was very, very false dawn. Like very false dawn. It was a wet day. It was half a Dublin team playing, and like Dublin are definitely hurting now. I don't think this had the same bit between their teeth maybe back in February, but they're definitely hurting now, and beware the wind of animal because they are coming.
They are definitely. We'll talk about Dublin in the next few weeks, but I'd be backing Mayo to win this game. I think, like, despite Mayo not scoring particularly well, I'd probably agree with you, like the Paddy Durkin, Lee Keegan. I think this is a game where Dermot O'Connor could really step up as well. I honestly think Mayo could give Kildare a bit of a pasting here. Like, if it was in Thurles, I'd actually give Kildare a chance. But if it's in Croke Park, I think Mayo could run riot here. What do you think? Do you think it'll be...
Especially if they got off to the sort of start Dublin did as well. Because like they were in Croke Park 2 weeks ago. Your players are looking around, going, "Shit, this is happening again."
Yeah, that's the thing, and that you know, the lack of confidence can go right through the team. Like after that display, like kind of the reason I was hoping as a Cork fan that we'd get Kildare in the next round, not particularly Limerick, because Limerick at the same time, we'll talk about Limerick Cork in a minute, but Limerick were kind of expecting to get beaten by that much against Kerry. Kildare, I don't think they got it into their heads they were getting that much beaten by Dublin. So I thought, you know, looking at that game, Kildare were always going to go into this round of the qualifiers, no matter who they were playing, on the back foot. And I think you'd be thinking the same. Do you think Mayo will hammer Kildare, or do you think it'll be closer than people think?
I'll not say hammer. I'll go 5 to 10, maybe 5 to 10 point margin.
Yeah, you've been very nice to Kildare there, I have to say, but we'll have to see though.
Just the Mayo performance last week, Matthew, it wasn't great, and Mayo just sort of coughed and spluttered their way through the qualifiers. But I think they'll win.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. But I just think this Mayo team will run riot this Kildare team. This will be the game where they'll show they'll be particular all Ireland Kildare does, but we'll have to see about the game live on Sky Sports Arena at 6 o'clock on Saturday evening. The next game is at 1:30 on Sunday between my own county Cork against Limerick, live from Páirc Uí Chaoimh on RT2. And for anybody wondering, I will be going to the game, providing updates and stats and everything on this game in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. But what do you think about this draw yourself? Like we were mentioning off air that Larry McCarthy must be pulling something for this Cork team. Like Loud in round 1 and then Limerick in round 2. Like, I
Both
mean, you know, both coming at the same time, 2 in 2 weeks. I don't know what you think about that yourself. Is there a bit of rigging going on in the GA?
I don't know, but what are the chances you draw the 2 Division 3 teams to come up this year? Like, it's unbelievable, both at home as well. Like, you couldn't have handpicked a better draw for Cork, could you?
You couldn't, no, absolutely not. Like, to be honest, going into the qualifiers, we were thinking if we get past round 1, it'd be the cheapest. But then we got Limerick on Monday morning. We couldn't believe our luck, to be honest with you. Like 2 Division 3 teams in the All Ireland Championship when there's a Tailteann Cup. I mean, geez, you can't get much luckier than that. Like
I joked with my old man. I says Larry McCarthy will come out in the Sunday game on Sunday night and say the winner of the Cork Limerick game plays the winner of the Tailteann Cup to get the All Ireland semi-final.
Oh jeez! I actually would have asked him to do that. Like in fairness, with the luck Cork has gotten the draws, I actually would have asked him there. But to take the game a bit more seriously, though, like at the same time, I know it's the best draw Cork could have got, but at the same time, it's probably the best draw Limerick could have got as well.
Yeah, 100%. I actually think this could be a dangerous game for Cork. I know you're confident, but you when we're talking about Limerick, when we always talk about Limerick, Matthew, we always talk about the size of them. They're like Hugh Burke and boys like us here. You talk about monster second rows, and I think they'll definitely be able to match the like of Ian Maguire. I know Cork wouldn't be as big as what they used to be. I remember, Jesus, maybe 10, 15 years ago, Cork were massive, like Graham Cantley, Pearson Hill, boys like us here. Yeah. How are you feeling about the match?
I'm feeling like it's hard to judge with this Cork team. Like at the same time, we went in 2020 against Tipperary in the Munster final as big favourites, and then we fell flat in our face. Like I see the stat recently, Limerick haven't beaten us in championship since 2003, and before that it was 1965. So the record isn't particularly there for Limerick, but at the same time, these teams, disregard the Kerry game now for a second. Like we all knew it was going to be a hammering in the Munster final, but when you look at Limerick's rise from Division 4 to Division 3 and eventually to Division 2 and the Munster final as well, like the way they beat Clare and Tipperary in the Munster Championship as well, and the players they have, Cian Sheehan, I think is an outstanding player for wing back, Josh Ryan from full forward, Hugh Burke is there as well, Robbie Burke is brilliant coming off the bench, Killian Fahy's a very good player, Ian Corbett, we all know how good he is. So honestly, it's no gimme here for Cork. I know Cork are going in as big favourites. It's on a silver platter for us. It's in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. But Limerick will be equally relishing this game. And looking at the players I just named there, they'll be definitely up for this game in Páirc Uí Chaoimh.
Yeah, and I was sort of having a wee think to myself there. There's not a lot between Cork, Clare and Limerick. And there's not a million miles. And yeah, well, I suppose the winner of this would play a provincial winner, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
So you'd almost be prolonging the agony if you won this match. Would you want to play Kerry again, or Dublin and Croke Park, or even a Derry?
To be honest with you, like I don't think we can get Kerry. I'm not entirely sure about the draw now, but because it's a Munster repeat, but we could get Dublin, Derry, or Galway. I'd actually look for Cork to get to Croke Park. I mentioned this on GA Fan TV as well. I think 12 out of 15 players never played in Croke Park. So I think, honestly, the experience that these guys will get will be invaluable because, we won an under-20 title in 2019. We won a minor title in 2019. Next step, though, is to get back to the big boys in Croke Park. If we could do that, get the experience, maybe put up a good showing like we did against Kerry and Parky Rin. I mean, that'd be mission accomplished for Cork. Like, we have to put into perspective, this team was nearly relegated to Division 3. Like, we were thinking, before the Down and Offaly game, we are doomed here. Look at the next few games. Like, over our first 5 games, we got 1 point against Clare and Parky Keefe at home. Then in the last 2 games, we didn't play particularly well against Down and Offaly, but you could see the reaction from the players after the Offaly game. Look, this year, unfortunately, as it hurts me to say it, that's where the Cork footballers are at the moment, trying to survive in Division 2 and trying to get to an All-Ireland quarter-final. So honestly, I wouldn't mind playing the big boys. Like, it'll give the players exposure. It'll give the players confidence that they can play in Croke Park. I would think anyway. But Limerick will be equally up for it. Like, at the same, you think they'll be prolonging agony, but I think it's an opportunity for one of these teams to get to Croke Park for the first time in God knows how long.
Yeah, it's a day out. My worry from a Cork perspective is Brian Hurley and Stephen Sherlock scored 112 out of the 212, and I think if you could shut at least one of them down, I know Billy Lee will be definitely doing his homework for Sunday. And yeah, that'd be my worry if he shut them down. Ian Maguire had a quiet enough game at midfield. I mean, Cork's backline, it's not great, is it, Matthew?
I honestly think we're actually improving a small bit. The half-back line has actually been the same for, I think, if they start the same half-back line as the last game, this will be the 5th game in a row that they start the same half-back line. So I think, that continuity in the Cork team, that hasn't been there for years. I think there's been a lot of chopping and changing in the league. I see it in the Southern Star podcast as well. Like, the amount of changes for one game against Derry was an annihilation. And then we made, 5 or 6 changes for the game against Galway. I think with this team now, there's going to be 14 guaranteed starters for the last game against Lowe. That's brilliant for the continuity of this team. And defensively, we have Sean Powter there, Kevin O'Donovan, Maurice Shanley's back in the full back line now. We have a half back line that's settled, midfield, Colm O'Callaghan and Ian Maguire. The worry though is goalkeeper. I don't know, is Micheál Martin going to be fit for this game? I don't know, is Chris Kelly going to start again? We'll have to see about that. But when you look at Limerick, like we talk about, I talked about chopping and changing there in the Cork team. This Limerick team has more or less been the same throughout the championship. Yeah. And that would probably give the players a sense of chemistry, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and we were going well at the time. And I remember, I know like Cork and Antrim wouldn't be in the same class, but Limerick come up and they just completely dominated Antrim at Cork. And so I don't think playing away will be any issue for them. And just on the whole Cork thing, I actually want to see a good, strong Cork side from now on, because I'm sick to the back teeth of the Pat Spillane and Tomas O'Shea just patronising them all the time.
Yeah. I'm actually the same. Geez, Troy living in Cork, it gets to a point where it gets on your nerves, to be honest with you. But even Sean Cavanagh as well, like saying that we performed pretty poorly against Kerry when we put up a very good display, like. That kind of, made
well done, little old Cork now. Let Kerry go and win Munster now. You can stay in Division 2, 3, yeah. It's actually quite annoying and I'm not even a Cork man. Like, I remember whenever you got relegated to Division 3, Tomas O'Shea come on League Sunday and big smirk in his face and says, well, Cork maybe in Division 4 next year.
Yeah, it looked pretty bad at that point, to be honest with you. But I'm saying the main thing with this Cork team is we stayed up in Division 2 with them 2 wins towards the end. And like, it's actually crazy when you think about it, because this Cork team was so close to being in the Tailteann Cup now in the semi-final against Westmeath. But we're nearly in an All-Ireland quarter-final. If we beat Limerick on Sunday,
One silly kick out that didn't cross the 20-yard line.
Yeah.
Used to be in the touch goal.
Yeah.
Referee give you a 20-minute free.
Yeah. Yeah. Jesus. Yeah. It's the small margins that you think about, isn't it? Like when you look back at that game, Like we could be seeing, I don't know, awfully a potential to be in another quarter final in Croke Park, what an achievement that would be. And Cork to be in the semi-final of a Tantian Cup with the likes of Sligo, Cavan and Westmeath. So geez, the amount it's amazing how the tables turn, to be honest with you. But at the same time, we cannot disregard Limerick. They're there to cause a shock here. And
would it be a shock? Would it be a big shock, you think, Matthew? I wouldn't be shocked if Limerick won.
No, I would say it's going to be a shock because Limerick, the way they've risen through the divisions, from Division 4 to Division 3, eventually to Division 2. Like, let's not forget, in 2020, Limerick were Division 4 team. So when you put that into context, and when you say Cork beat Limerick by 8 points last year in the Gaelic rounds, and Cork, if they performed better that day, could have won by more. So I would say, I don't know about you, Ryan, but I would say this could be a potential to be a shock if Limerick win it. I know Tommy Rooney on Off the Ball is saying Limerick will win this. I heard a podcast recently. But I don't know, do you think Limerick can do it at Páirc Uí Chaoimh, or do you think Cork will just have enough, the likes of Sherlock, the likes of Brian? And while we're on Sherlock and Brian Hurley, I was actually tallying up stats of this. Out of the championship scores, Sherlock and Hurley have got 72% of Cork scores. So, it's a sign that Cork need to, spread the scores a bit. Like only Colin McCallaghan got the other score against Loud. I know we performed pretty well dealing with a black defence, but having only 3 scores, that doesn't really bode well. And when you look at the percentage that Sherlock and Hurley are getting, the Cork forwards need to step up more. The likes of Dan Deneen, the likes of John O'Rourke, and the likes of Owen McSweeney in that half-hour line.
Yeah, 100%. And like I said before, that could be. I know Brian Hurley's scores come from frees. I think Stephen Sherlock, what a find he's been from Finbars. Like he's like, we cover everything in our podcast. Like, and see whenever he was playing for Finbars over the championship, I think he was actually one of the standout players. I know he went on to win the All-Ireland night, but would you put him in your top 10 forwards in Ireland now? Because I think I would. I see that score against Kerry. That, why is that not talked about? If someone else had done that, if a Dublin or a Clifford had done that,
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I'd say for ages, he's definitely one of the top 10 forwards in the country. Like, when you compare to the big sides, I think Dublin's forwards, Conor O'Callaghan, possibly, I think Dean Rock and Stephen Sherlock are pretty level at the moment. I think Conor O'Callaghan's above him. I think David Clifford's above him. Sean O'Shea. I would say Killian O'Connor still. Shane Walsh, definitely. Darren McCurry, despite Tyrone going out in the championship, is pretty good. But still, McGuigan, absolutely. But it still put Sherlock as top 10 forwards in the country. 100%. Like, it's actually mad. We were mentioning that some of these corporates have played Croke Park. Stephen Sherlock's actually one of those. Well, he was a bench player in the Super 8 games against Tyrone and Dublin. But when you consider him starting for Cork or any other team, he hasn't done that in Croke Park in his career. That's bad, It is.
What age is he? What age is he, Matthew?
I would say I'm not entirely sure though. I think he's about 24, 25.
Oh, that's good for Finbars then. They could dominate Cork then for a while.
I'm not sure about that. We'll talk about club in later weeks, but I just think Castlehaven or Nemo Rangers will be having the blood boiling, and they'll be up there with St. Finbars this year. Like, it's a competitive Cork championship, despite how badly the Cork team has done over the last few years. But in conclusion, do you think Limerick can cause a shock in this game, or do you think Cork will eventually win this game in Páirc Uí Chaoimh and go into the All-Ireland quarter-final?
I'm going to go, if it was percentage, I'd go 60% Cork, 40% Limerick. And I would just edge Cork, I think, home advantage as well. Yeah. Do you think you'll get a good crowd for it, maybe?
No way.
No?
No. Oh. I honestly think there'll be more hurling fans go up to Corgan Park though tomorrow. It's did you see the crowd for Cork and Loud? I was hearing it was 1,500 or something like that.
Oh,
yeah, it is for an all-Ireland qualifier. One stand was open, one lower stand, but 2 stands of Airdus. I see the Ticketmaster will be open north and south. So
what's the cause for the lack of appetite for Cork football?
It's the hurlers, as simple as that. Like the way the hurlers are performed, and hurling will always be king in Cork. Like at the same time, it's the same problem that Tip, Limerick, Clare have at the same time. The Kerry hurlers have as
And
well.
rugby as well. Rugby's a big thing down in Munster.
I think it's more bigger in Limerick, to be honest, more than Cork. I think soccer is gradually going up again. Now Cork City are nearly promoted to the Premier Division once again, so that will attract more fans, to be honest with you. But at the same time, I don't think there'll be much there, to be honest with you. I think there'll be lots of people are saying they'll be lucky to get 10,000. I'd agree with that.
I thought Limerick brought a lot of support to the Munster final, or maybe my eyes were deceiving me.
Well, they did, to be honest with you. They did. I think Limerick will come out in their numbers, to be honest with you. But I don't think the Cork fans, there would be the appetite there. Like, there's still, like, to put in the context, there's still league games and fundraising things happening at the same time of this game in Cork. So
games,
club league games and stuff like that. Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's a problem we've had in Cork for ages though. They'll rest the club games for hurling and stuff like that, but for the football, once the football comes on, they don't care. I don't know what it is. Like that has to be bad for the footballers as well. They aren't getting as much support, but I will be there, of course, and hopefully there'll be a good crowd, at least 10,000. But that's the minimum.
I think I'll be up to 10,000.
Yeah. We don't know, but I'll be definitely going to the game. It'll be easy to get a ticket anyway. That's a positive. But yeah, it's sad times for the fans of Cork football. But we'll move on to the real big game at the weekend. As Donegal against Armagh in Clonus. You were saying, Luke, from your own podcast, is going to this game off air as well. This will be some atmosphere live at RT2, and Armagh after beating Tyrone, Donegal losing after extra time to Derry. This is going to be a cracker of a game.
100%. Do you listen to the BBC social podcast? Aidan Faulkner was on there, and he was saying that there's absolutely no point in us beating Tyrone if we can't back it up against Donegal, and I 100% agree with that. That was a massive win for Kieran McGeeney last weekend, wasn't it?
It was a huge win. I actually, I've listened to the Football Pod, the Southern Star podcast. I actually didn't listen to the BBC. There's been so many podcasts going around GFan TV as well. So, but that was interesting what Aidan Walker said about them. And I have to agree with him. Like, yes, they beat the All-Ireland champions, but at the same time, it's the same situation as Cork with Kerry 2020. We beat Kerry, but then we lose to Tipperary. So then our years flush down the drain. So, like, this is a crucial game for Armagh. Like, who do you think actually it's more crucial for? Because Donegal need to bounce back from that poor performance, let's say, against Derry in the Ulster final. So, who would you say this is more important to, Donegal or Armagh?
That's a good question, you know. I think Declan Bonner's under serious pressure after that Ulster final. I think if Donegal lose this, you think that would be his last game? I think it is. But saying that, if Armagh lost, would it be McGeeney's last game? That's the pressure them men are under. Like,
yeah. Oh, geez. What do you think? Like, I don't think it'll be that bad for McGeeney, to be honest. But I would totally agree with you on Bonner. Like, he probably should have gone last year after the Tyrone game. But if he loses, he lost the Ulster final. If he loses this, a round 2 qualifier, I mean, no matter what the opponent is, I think he has to go, to be honest with you. But at the same time, like, I think Patrick Sharkey for the GSO podcast was mentioning, who else is there in Donegal to replace Declan Bonner? That's a serious question as well that needs to be asked.
Could they not go outside the county? And I was saying that, look, like, Declan Bonner, he gets the minimum out of that squad of players that he has. You know the way they talk about, like, a Colin Collins, like, takes Clare on to a different level? He gets the bare minimum out of that squad. Like, Donegal have a better squad than Derry. I don't care what anybody says. You look at Derry's or Donegal's 15, like, there's generational talents on that squad, like. And how he bottled it in 20, he bottled it this year, I don't know. And I was reading some of his quotes, like, whenever he took clubs and stuff, he says, this was a massive red flag to me. He says, tactics don't mean anything as long as boys are given 100%.
Yeah. Like, I have to agree with you when you think about that. Like, Paddy McBrearty, Jamie Brennan, Michael Murphy, Ryan McHugh, or McFadden Ferry,
John,
Hugh
John
McFadden,
Patton, one of the best
John
keepers I've
Patton,
seen.
Kyla McGonigal, Patter Bogan,
Owen Bon Gallagher.
The list goes on. Like, Donegal actually have some very exciting, good players, and they're not particularly old either when you think
No.
about it. But like, they haven't got to an Ireland semi-final since 2014. I know I'm repeating myself in saying this, but for Donegal standards, with that group of players, that's a bit of a failure for this Donegal team.
100%. And I would say Michael Murphy's probably the best footballer I've seen live. I don't know how he cannot get more of a tune at that Donegal team, that squad. I just do not know.
Yeah, to be
like I've said before, I think he almost relies on the players doing it off the cuff for him.
Yeah. I agree.
I delved into their games this year, like, and the lack of tactics is actually quite scary.
Yep.
You can read Donegal like a book.
Yep. Like, what I found weird as well, like Michael Murphy, he's 32, 33. Why are you putting him midfield? I mean, they put him.
That was ridiculous.
I mean, they put him midfield against Derry, with Derry already a collar glass and Emmett Bradley. Well, Emmett Bradley didn't start, but he came on later on in the game.
We know that Brendan Rodgers is the one that comes out with a ball at the back. Why not put him in at full forward and push Rodgers back to full back?
I don't know.
Like, oh my God.
And at the same time, like, playing devil's advocate for a bit as well, if you put Michael Murphy in the square, that's his best position. It's not midfield. Like, why? They have a brilliant player, as you rightly said, on their books. Michael Murphy's outstanding talent. Why are you wasting his talents and putting him midfield rather than full forward where he can be a threat? And as well as that, bring up Brendan Rodgers. He scored 3 points. And that was the losing of the game for Donegal.
100%. I thought that was the call that lost them the game. You're 100% bang on about that. I've never seen like a defender pushing Michael Murphy back like that before in my life. It was early on the cards, because remember he went by him in the first half like that, and he scored in the first half, and I thought, he has to put him up front. He has to put him up front. Even in extra time, Murphy was still collecting kickouts from Patton. Yeah, it was. I don't know. Maybe Michael Murphy is a big influence in that dressing room, but because I heard Rory Gallagher having a wee dig, he was like, it was the managers. All the managers were coming for like a photo shoot, and apparently Rory Gallagher said, "Is Michael Murphy not here?"
Yeah, like, I don't know what they do with Michael Murphy sometimes, but enough about Donegal's misdemeanors. Let's look at Armagh. Their brilliant performance last week against Tyrone. What I noticed, actually, looking at stats for Armagh, their highest score actually in the championship is Rory Grugan with 6 points. But when you look at the entire team, like, a lot of the players are chipping in. Aidan Nugent with 1-1, Stephen Campbell with 3 points. Ryan O'Neill hasn't scored that much this year. So what I noticed about between the two sides, Donegal are reliant on McBrearty and Murphy. But when you look at Armagh, there's scores coming all over the field, and that has to be a plus for Ciara McGeady and Ciara Donaghy going into Sunday.
I think so, yeah. And you're talking there about Stephen Campbell. Luke said in the first match against Donegal, why did Stephen Campbell not start that match? And you're talking about spreading scores. Even Ethan Rafferty's coming up the field now and scored 2 or 3 points. And they're absolutely cracking points as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, will Armagh learn from their mistakes from the first day? Possibly. But I'm not too sure. This is a massive game for both sides. I don't know. A very hard one to call, I think. Yeah.
Usually what I find with these type of games where there's a repeat tie, I'm totally against it, by the way. I think both of these sides should have avoided each other in the qualifier draw. Like, playing, it's a bit boring, to be honest with you. When I know
it's the third time they played each other this year.
Yeah, in the league as well. Like, it's ridiculous the amount of times these sides have played each other. But what I find, the losing team in the first game of the championship learns more. And to be honest, Armagh actually lost in the last game of the league when there was a league final on the night against Donegal as well. So Armagh will be going on for blood in this game. Like, what I find, like, with Cork and Kerry in 2000, I know it's a different time though, but in 2008, Cork beat Kerry in the Munster final. Kerry lured their lessons in the All-Ireland semi-final and they beat Cork. Same in 2009, the All-Ireland final. And same a few years later, I think Kildare and Meath came up against each other and Kildare beat Meath after losing the first game. Like, you know, it goes around the roundabouts really, where the losing team in the first game learned more than the winning team.
And you're talking about that. I remember 2005, whenever Armagh beat Tyrone in the Ulster final down in Croke Park, and then Tyrone went on to beat them in the All-Ireland semi-final, and then eventually went on to All-Ireland. I think you do learn more when you get beat. 100%, because I think McGeeney will be picking things out from that game in Ballybofey, which, Armagh just didn't turn up on that day, so they didn't bring their A game. And they'll know this is last chance to learn again. So, yeah, if it's a scorching day as well, they might have the legs in Donegal, the way Derry did.
I'm actually looking at an image from a post I sent out on Instagram and Twitter. If you don't follow me on those accounts, be sure to follow them if you don't already. But I looked at the last 5 meetings between the two sides. Armagh haven't won any of those in league or championship. They've drawn one game in the league in 2021, but the other games Donegal have won. So I don't know what to think about that. Do you think Armagh have the bottle to beat Donegal?
See, I called Donegal beating them in Ballybofey, but is that Ulster final loss? Like, that would be a very, very better pill to swallow, would it not, Matthew? Losing after extra time. Like, I don't know. Could Donegal recover from that? Do they have the management as well?
That's the real question. I think Armagh probably have the better manager in McGeeney. But
they have a better all round because there's Donaghy there and there's Kieran McKeever. There's like 4 Kierans in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's scores coming all over the field as well. Like, the more we talk about this, despite Armagh's poor record against Donegal over the last 5 games, the more we think that Armagh could actually win this game. You know?
Yeah.
So
I don't think it would be a shock now, Matthew. Like, I think that was a very scarring defeat. I think there might be still scar tissue from that Derry game. There has to be.
Yeah, but at the same time, they're not going to, surely to God, they're not going to make the same mistake of putting Michael Murphy in midfield. They're not going to do it, surely. So
I don't know.
Like, if they do it, Aidan Barker's going to score 3 or 4 points. That's the risk they're going to take. So I don't know. Like, surely I'm thinking they're not going to play Michael Murphy midfield. They've learned their lessons from the last day. If Donegal learned anything from that Ulster final, they're not going to put Michael Murphy midfield. You know? I mean, and even they had to look at that game against Tyrone last week as well. The Armagh game against Tyrone, and how Armagh counteracted that game as well. You know? And
then we have to put into perspective too how out of sorts are Tyrone at the minute. Because I think they're massively out of sorts at the minute. There's players walking away from the panel. That Derry game wasn't a once-off. They have been poor. They've been poor this year. And don't let a win in Tralee or beating Mayo deflect. They've been shit this year, Tyrone. They have been. Sorry to say to Tyrone supporters, but they have. They were very poor against Derry. Yeah. They were poor against Armagh. And I knew whenever Armagh went up last week, I knew Tyrone weren't coming back. The only person that's really stood up for them this year is probably McCurry.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. Like, I think he scored 117, but Tyrone have been so, like, at the same time, do you actually think Armagh got a very good game last week against Tyrone? Or
I think at home as well, against their better rivals who are out of sorts. What do you think?
Like, it's tough on the side because you were saying Tyrone are so out of sorts this year. They've been pretty bad. Like, any Tyrone fan would mention that. But beating your rivals with that margin of victory, I mean, that has to be some positive, to be honest with you, for this Armagh team. Like, but looking at this game, we've analysed it so much. Looking at the last 5 games, looking at the scores throughout each team, the fact that Michael Murphy might be playing midfield. But at the end of it all, who do you think will win this game at closest? Do you think it'll be Donegal or do you think it'll be Armagh? Huge call now.
I'll flip a coin here. Do y'all know something? I'll go for Armagh.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think Declan Bonner has it in him to win big games. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, I'd have to agree with you. I'm going to go Armagh to win this game as well. Like, like the writing's on the wall from the scores all over the fields. Donegal losing that Ulster final. Like, I think if Donegal don't make the same mistakes as against Derry, this could be a cracker of a game. But yeah. I just think Armagh, Kieran McGeeney's just more street smart, as you rightly said, than Declan Bonner. And I just think Armagh will have enough in this game. Like, it's going to be a cracker live on RT2, of course. And I suppose thanks for coming on to the podcast anyway, Ryan, to delve into the games. And where can we find your own podcast, the Saffron Voice?
It's on, I think it is just the Saffron Voice on Twitter and Instagram. So yeah, we always have good crack on our podcast, so you should definitely give it a listen.
Absolutely, and I'll link it all in the bio of this episode. And thanks for coming on, Ryan, and enjoy the games this weekend. We'll
be following your stories on Sunday to see how Cork's doing. My own club's playing up there, Belfast, on Sunday, like, so you can keep me updated, sure, with the scores.